Okay, this is the Western Reserve Local School Board meeting, February 8, 2018. May I have roll call, please?
Mark Halls.
Present.
Melissa Potts. Present. Richard Blevins.
Present.
Lisa Powell. Present. Tracy Singh.
Present.
Stand for the pledge to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We'll start with the treasurer's recommendations. It is recommended that the minutes of the January 11, 2018 organizational meeting and the January 11, 2018 regular meeting of the Western Reserve Local Board of Education be approved as mailed to each member in advance of the meeting.
So moved. Second. Mr. Blevins.
Yes.
Mr. Halls.
Yes.
Mrs. Potts. Yes. Mrs. Powell. Yes. Mr. Singh.
Yes.
Motion carried. It is recommended that the January 2018 financial reports be approved and the January listing of bills be approved as mailed to each member in advance of the meeting.
So moved.
Second. Mr. Blevins.
Yes.
Mr. Halls.
Yes.
Mrs. Potts.
Yes.
Mrs. Powell.
Yes.
Mr. Singh.
Yes.
Motion carried. It is recommended that the Farmers National Bank School Rewards donation of $190 be approved.
So moved.
Second. Mr. Halls.
Yes.
Mrs. Potts.
Yes.
Mrs. Powell.
Yes.
Mr. Singh.
Yes.
Mr. Blevins.
Yes.
Motion carried. Superintendent's recommendations. Resolution to authorize superintendent to accept resignations between board meetings. It is recommended to authorize the superintendent on behalf of the board to accept resignations which have been submitted by employees during times when the board is not in session, subject to ratification by the board. Provided, however, that upon ratification by the board, such resignations shall be deemed effective as of the date and time of the superintendent's acceptance. This authorization shall be in effect from 2018-2019 school year.
So moved.
Second. Mrs. Potts.
Yes.
Mrs. Powell.
Yes.
Mr. Singh.
Yes.
Mr. Blevins.
Yes.
Mr. Halls.
Yes. Motion carried. Resolution to authorize superintendent to hire staff between board meetings. It is recommended to authorize the superintendent during periods when the board is not in session to make offers of employment directly to candidates for either teaching or non-teaching positions on behalf of the board, and to acknowledge acceptance of such offers on behalf of the board, subject to subsequent vote of ratification by this board, provided, however, that upon ratification by the board, the employment shall be deemed effective as the date and time of the employee's acceptance of the superintendent's offer. Nothing in this resolution shall require the Board of Education to employ or continue to employ an individual who has not provided a criminal records check satisfactory to the board or who has not satisfied any other prerequisite to employment created by law or board policy. This authorization shall be in effect for the 2018-19 school year.
So moved.
Second.
Mrs. Powell.
Yes.
Mr. Singh.
Yes.
Mr. Blevins.
Yes.
Mr. Halls.
Yes.
Mrs. Potts.
Yes.
Carried. It is recommended that the board approve a calamity day on January 16, 2018 due to inclement weather conditions. Also to approve a 2-hour delays on January 12th and January 17, 2018.
So moved. Second.
Mr. Singh.
Yes.
Mr. Blevins.
Yes.
Mr. Halls.
Yes.
Mrs. Potts.
Yes.
Mrs. Powell.
Yes.
Motion carried. It is recommended that the 2018-19 school calendar be approved. See the attachment.
So moved.
So close. Mr. Blevins.
Yes.
Mr. Halls.
Yes.
Mrs. Potts.
Yes.
Mrs. Powell.
Yes.
Mr. Singh.
Yes.
There's a little slight change on that. We've gone back to starting the Wednesday after Labor Day, talking to a lot of different parents in the community. We're involved in 4-H, a lot of them aren't getting back till 12:30, 1 o'clock, even later on Labor Day. So we decided to kind of help them out a little bit with a lot of that request.
Yep, I agree.
Which it ends up adding an additional teacher professional development day for us, which Tower has been very gracious in going ahead with that. And reduces, we still have the same, and the calendar's starting to get weird at that point where we're getting to the point where Christmas is going to be a full 2 weeks, and the end of the school is going to be the second week of June at some point. So we'll get to that stage. But again, I'd like to thank Jerry and his leadership in the Tower for going through that.
It is recommended that the request from Brittany Whitner for unpaid leave effective January 25th, 2018 be approved.
So moved.
Second. Mr. Halls?
Yes.
Mrs. Potts?
Yes.
Mrs. Powell?
Yes.
Mr. Sin?
Yes.
Mr. Blevins?
Yes.
Motion carried. It is recommended that the memorandum of understanding with Kent State University regarding College Credit Plus be approved.
Second.
Mrs. Potts?
Yes.
Mrs. Powell?
Yes.
Mr. Sin?
Yes.
Mr. Blevins?
Yes.
Mr. Halls?
Yes. Motion carried. It is recommended that the board deny the request for transportation submitted by Chris and Elissa Thomas for their 3 children. See the attachment. As per non-public transportation rules stating that a preschool child who accepts a state scholarship is not eligible for transportation from or through a public district.
So moved.
Second.
Mrs. Powell?
Yes.
Mr. Sin?
Yes.
Mr. Blevins?
Yes.
Mr. Halls?
Yes.
Mrs. Potts?
Yes.
That goes along with the Ohio Department of Education and working with our attorney through them. The Ohio Department of Education clearly states that it's required only for school-age children, K-12. And that's transportation for preschool children without a disability is not required. When they give up that scholarship, they're treated as regular education students because they sign up on the FAPE. So again, that came from our attorney and also the Ohio Department of Education, their transportation special ed person.
So what she was saying about there being 2 different,
Yes,
okay, still,
yes. There's two different. For preschool, there's no transportation. For K-12, and next year we go back into this, it would be payment in lieu of, if they're still going there.
Still, they have to get the scholarship instead of,
Correct.
and they're making a choice, right?
Right.
motion carried. It is recommended to renew the agreement with Access Area Cooperative Computerized Educational Service System for the district's internet and email service, application services including the USAS accounting system, USPS payroll systems, EMIS SIS student informational system, voicemail, and VoIP phone services during the 2018-19 school year at the cost estimated at $39,215.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Sin?
Yes.
Mr. Blevins?
Yes.
Mr. Halls?
Yes.
Mrs. Potts?
Yes.
Mrs. Powell?
Yes. It is lower.
It's a lot lower from last year.
Motion carried.
Why is that?
Because Mr. Sander is amazing on his job.
It's
He
probably,
gets us rebates everywhere that he can.
it's probably what's,
So it's a win-win.
but it's a savings because we switched over some things.
Okay.
One was switching to Armstrong
Okay.
from where we were before with our phone system and everything. So,
And that was all Mr. Sander too.
That's good.
Nice.
Good to know. Thank you.
What's that? Well, it is recommended that the following resolution accepting the amounts and rates as determined by the Budget Commission and authorizing the necessary tax levies and certifying them to the county auditor be approved. Trusting we can all read that.
So moved.
I'll second.
Mr. Blevins?
Yes.
Mr. Halls?
Yes.
Mrs. Potts?
Yes.
Mrs. Powell?
Yes.
Mr. Sin?
Yes.
Motion carried. It is recommended to hire Joseph T. Sorensky as the junior varsity baseball coach for 2017-18 school year as per the salary schedule in effect.
So moved.
Second.
Yep.
Mr. Halls?
Yes.
Yes.
Mrs. Potts?
Yes.
Mrs. Powell?
Oh, yes.
Mr. Sin?
Yes.
Mr. Blevins?
Yes.
Motion carried. 11. It is recommended to hire Andrew Hake as head varsity track coach for the 2017-18 school year as per the salary schedule in effect.
So moved.
Second. Mrs. Potts? Yes. Mrs. Powell?
Yes.
Mr. Sin?
Yes.
Mr. Blevins?
Yes.
Mr. Halls?
Yes. Motion carried. It is recommended to hire Brett Powell as assistant varsity track coach for the 2017-18 school year as per the salary schedule in effect.
So moved.
Second. Mrs. Powell?
Abstain.
Mr. Sin?
Yes.
Mr. Blevins?
Yes.
Mr. Halls?
Yes.
Mrs. Potts? Yes.
Motion carried. It is recommended to hire Damon Bente as an assistant varsity track coach for 2017-18 school year as per the salary schedule in effect.
So moved.
Second. Mr. Sin?
Yes.
Mr. Blevins?
Yes.
Mr. Halls?
Yes.
Mrs. Potts? Yes. Mrs. Powell?
Yes.
Motion carried. It is recommended to hire Sherry Pater as the assistant varsity track coach for 2017-18 school year as per the salary schedule in effect.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Blevins?
Yes.
Mr. Halls?
Yes.
Mrs. Potts? Yes. Mrs. Powell?
Yes.
Mr. Sin?
Yes.
Motion carried. It is recommended to hire Pascual Del Torio as junior high track coach for 2017-18 school year as per the salary schedule in effect.
So moved.
I'll second.
Mr. Halls?
Yes.
Mrs. Potts?
Yes.
Mrs. Powell?
Yes.
Mr. Sin?
Yes.
Mr. Blevins?
Yes.
Motion carried. It is recommended to hire Amber Murphy as junior high track coach for 2017-18 school year as per the salary schedule in effect.
So moved.
I'll second.
Mrs. Potts?
Yes.
Mrs. Powell?
Yes.
Mr. Sin?
Yes.
Mr. Blevins?
Yes.
Mr. Halls?
Yes. Motion carried. Okay. It's recommended to hire Angela Knopf as junior high track coach for the 2017-18 school year as per the salary schedule in effect.
So moved.
Second.
Mrs. Powell?
Yes.
Mr. Sin?
Yes.
Mr. Blevins?
Yes.
Mr. Halls?
Yes.
Mrs. Potts? Yes.
Carried. It is recommended to approve Kevin Conway as unpaid volunteer indoor track coach for the 2017-18 school year.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Sin?
Yes.
Mr. Blevins?
Yes.
Mr. Halls?
Yes.
Mrs. Potts? Yes. Mrs. Powell?
Yes.
Carried. It is recommended that Tiffany Shugart be hired as junior varsity softball coach for the 2017-18 school year as per the salary schedule in effect.
So moved.
Second. Mr. Blevins?
Yes.
Mr. Halls?
Yes.
Mrs. Potts? Yes. Mrs. Powell?
Yes.
Mr. Sin?
Yes.
Somebody new, it's kind of nice to get somebody new in the rotation.
Carried. It is recommended that Thomas Shugart be approved as unpaid volunteer softball coach for 2017-18 school year.
So moved.
Second.
Are they related, the two? Thomas and Tiffany?
Location?
Is that his daughter?
Yes.
Tiffany's his daughter.
Tiffany is his daughter, yes. Thomas is 70s.
He coached Sam.
He's a really good guy.
That's awesome.
But yeah, Tiffany is his daughter.
Mr. Halls?
Yes.
Mrs. Potts? Yes. Mrs. Powell?
Yes.
Mr. Sin? Mr. Blevins?
Yes.
Motion carried. It is recommended that Christina Sellers be added to the certified substitute list.
So moved.
Second. Mrs. Potts? Yes. Mrs. Powell?
Yes.
Mr. Sin?
Yes.
Mr. Blevins?
Yes.
Mr. Halls?
Yes. Motion carried. It is recommended that Caleb Quinn be added to the athletic worker list.
So moved.
Second.
Mrs. Powell?
Yes.
Mr. Sin?
Yes.
Mr. Blevins?
Yes.
Mr. Halls?
Yes.
Mrs. Potts?
Yes.
I have one more to add. Can I have a motion to move the March meeting to March 15th?
The following week?
Okay,
I make a motion.
So moved.
Second.
thank you.
Mr. Sin?
Yes.
Did I give you time to check?
That's fine, it's fine.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Mr. Blevins?
Yes.
Mrs. Potts?
Yes.
Mrs. Powell?
Yes.
Mr. Halls?
Yes. We have the building principal reports. Debbie?
Well, we've been here not one full week, I don't think, for a long time, but it's good. We are just getting ready to have our concerts. Fifth grade concert is on Valentine's Day. So if you want to go have dinner and then come for entertainment afterwards, you're more than welcome to come. So that's on the 14th. We're having our Valentine's parties on the 16th, which is Thursday before we leave. And the PTO Carnival will be on the 23rd. And then we're getting ready for kindergarten registration. They're changing some things up for kindergarten registration. Stephanie's been doing a great job working with the secretary, with Liz Martin, and with the teachers. And so I think it's going to be much more streamlined. She's doing a lot of it online, and I think she's going to be registering online now, more online. So she'll have a computer, and parents can, when they come in, they won't be filling all those paperwork and all the paperwork out. It'll be done online a lot. So she's really streamlined a lot of that. So some good things there with her. Just some good changes, I think. So, and we are in the consortium for the Striving Readers Grant. We actually, you had to qualify. So we did because of our special ed population. And so we found out it's been a big turnaround. The state received the money and that they got their state grant. And so we received notice on, I think, 2 Thursdays ago that next Tuesday we had to be in Columbus to go to these meetings. And they were very good. Learned a lot. Kristen Higgins, April Davis, and I went to the meetings. We learned a ton at the meetings. They're going back to phonics. I mean, it's phonics and language comprehension for reading, and they're really focused on reading in the content area, which is what Dallas and I have talked about, writing in the content area, and doing things like it's back from when I started, where you go through and you really focus on words in like science, focus on words before you even read. So we're learning. It's been a lot of work in the last 2 weeks because it's a quick turnaround. So I'm meeting tomorrow at the county with the grant writer. They have a grant writer for the county who actually won their 21st, or no, their, which grant did the grant writer win for the county? The straight A grant, thank you. The straight A grant. And so we're working as a consortium. And they said that, I'll find out more tomorrow, but they said what they are looking at is putting together a kind of a menu of interventions, both for the lower level, average, and then for the upper level. And then they would provide like the PD and the support and the materials for us. So it's kind of it. We're looking at our reading curriculum, and we're looking, United has done a really nice job, so we're going to go down and visit them on the 13th, which is next Tuesday. Andrea Gruber's been very gracious to host us and show us around and talk to us. We're going to spend the day down there, a couple of teachers and myself. That's it. Yeah, it's called the simple, it is. If you stay in long enough, it'll smack you in the face, you know. But it's called the simple view of reading, and basically it's very mathematical. I showed Doug, and I can bring that to you. It's very mathematical. If you teach kids phonics, and it's heavy phonics in kindergarten, first and second grade, and really teaching them how to sound words out, and then as they go up, they go from phonics to morphemes, which is breaking words apart. So if you can learn, I always said, you know, I was in science, and scientists, it's not that they're so smart, they use big words, but they know the word, the definition's buried in the word. So you have the root word, which is a definition, a prefix means something, a suffix means something, and you have that whole together, you've got the whole definition. So they're really going back into word study, really looking at words and that, and not just phonemic awareness, but phonics. And then the language comprehension, so what does the language mean? What does this mean? And then that's going to make reading comprehension. And then as they go up, it breaks down into, yeah, right. And then really going in the content area, really going into language like that. You guys did it when you were growing up, SQ3R, where you surveyed, you questioned out of the bold print headings, and then you read, recite, and respond to it. And so really, it's really coming back to that really deep focus and really on word study and what that means. So that's kind of, I'm learning. I told Doug, I texted him yesterday, I said, I have read so much because they have a What Works clearinghouse, and they have these guides, and it's a lot of really good information. So we're going to start using those with the teachers on data and on language learning. And so when the state says that's what the priority is, that's what your priority is too. So yeah, good stuff. Sure.
For the middle school and high school, just a couple small little things. We purchased a 3D printer. We're getting that in. Actually, we just sitting in the office now, came in, and Sean Gardner is he has a group of about 5 or 6 kids who decided to take this class just to kind of get the process rolling so we can kind of work out some of the kinks, test out the printer, see if we want to purchase more, and then really ramp up and have them start being more involved with that, with the course offerings next year. Like Debbie said, we have conferences coming up, a long weekend coming up, so it's really been a little difficult to get some momentum and routine going, but everything's going really well. I don't know if you guys read the paper or saw the announcement, but Coach Hake, Andy Hake, he got the VFW grade 6 through 8 state teacher of the year, which means that he is automatically nominated for the national teacher of the year, which takes place in Kansas, I think. I want to say is where that takes place in July. So that's really a nice thing to kind of hang your hat on and get some exposure, positive exposure for the school. One other thing, and Doug may talk about this in a little bit, but I just wanted to mention it. We purchased Navigate Prepared, and we started using that in our buildings. And basically, what it is, it's a safety component. It kind of tracks your fire drills, student where they are if there's ever an incident where we have to kind of spread off of site or on-site evacuation. It's really a neat tool and something that will enhance the safety of our campus and students. So maybe Doug will talk more about that at the end here. But really, really exciting piece, and I think it's the PTO partnered with us. I think it's something that is just hopefully we never have to use, but in the event that something does happen, we'll certainly be prepared. So.
It's a way we can better track our kids during an emergency, as well as if we have to leave campus to go to another site, we can keep track of where every kid is for the parent. And also as the parent piece to it that'll help.
That's the neatest thing is the reunification process. So if there was a gas leak or anything, we had to go to another site. It tracks students through that whole process of contacting the parent when the parents check in, the fact that they went with the parent. So, just from legalities and from what's best for kids, it's really a neat piece that I think is, like I said, hopefully we never use it, but it's just a great way to make sure everybody's where they're supposed to be and kids are safe.
Or do you actually have to enter everybody in, or do they?
Yeah. They'll be in here the 20th, 21st, 22nd out of February for 3 days.
So if an incident happens, you have your iPad, you would enter their name.
Every teacher will be able to, they have an iPad or a phone, be able to pick up right there and they'll see your whole list and they'll check it to who's with you and who's not.
So then it puts it like in a database if you want to check on it. That's pretty
And
sweet.
then you can check and say, hey, I don't have Lisa Powell with me, and Mark may say, well, I got her here. and he'll be able to check.
So it cross-references where
Yeah,
they put.
so people will know where everyone's at. So if I sent you to the restroom and you're not back yet, we have an emergency, he's gonna grab you out of the hallway
Gotcha.
and pull you in. So we'll know where they're at, and then as we get on buses and transfer somewhere if we have to, we'll know exactly where every kid is and
Wow,
who they're with.
that's great, good job.
And it'll be a nice program. It also, the plus to it is they send everything you need, drill-wise, safety plan-wise, everything. They take care of all that and send it to the state.
Is it a cost? How much?
The cost is it was $4,000 per setup.
Is that a one-time price?
It's a one-time price, and PTO has agreed to partner with us and split it.
Got it.
And then it's $1,500 a year to maintain, and they're looking at also splitting that with us. Possibly for the year.
Nice, it's worth it.
So it's worth it because it gives you, as Dallas said, it's something you never want to have to use, but
If you have it.
If you have to use it.
if you have to use it, it's a great tool to have. And they're getting into just about every school. They're out of the Canton area. They're getting into just about every school in the state. They're starting to, they're with the Ohio School Council, so they're being marketed throughout more than just Ohio right now. So it's a good addition. Again, you don't want to ever use it, but hopefully.
Thanks.
Tower?
I don't really have much to add. I just want to thank Mr. Glenn for, working with us, asking us, to kind of sit down and talk about the calendar coming up. It was just kind of a nice experience kind of thing to kind of have that. Other than that, we're here when the snow's not here.
Yes. OC, there's CPTO. Superintendent.
It's quick and brief. Snow days, yesterday was our 5th. Within our contract is a provision because we are on hours with our staff and with our students as far as makeups. We have makeups in the calendar that we approved last year, days. And in the next few days, Jerry and I will be sitting down with the principals and looking at what point do we start to go to makeup days. Based on our hours, we're well over the hours, but at some point you don't want to miss too many days academically because you're going to start missing out. So at what point do you make up a day? So we'll be looking at that down the road. I don't see the snow ending yet. So.
Do they make up even if you're not over your hours?
No.
Oh,
What do you mean?
Well, if you're not over the hours, you said about getting to a point where you would make them up because of academic.
I think if you get to a point where you're looking at 8, 9, 10 days out, I think we should look at making up some days.
When the hours aren't involved, you're missing pieces to the
Because
day.
you're missing some valuable time.
I didn't know how that worked with teacher union. I come from
It's in the contract where we sit down and we determine, and ODE is so vague on this whole, which we all know how ODE is. Again, the Striving Readers Grant, we're coming for a full cycle. But ODE is very vague. Right now, currently, we're 157 hours over the minimum. For high school, it's 1,001. For elementary, it's 910.
With all that we've missed.
Yeah, that's how many. they
Currently,
have
we
now.
are 118 hours over still at this point. So
And
we're,
you just determine that on the average day, hours, times, how many
yes,
days?
6.5 hour day,
6.5 hours,
times the number of days.
divided on how many
So the
days.
requirements were good, but we still might choose to.
Right, at what point, and that's what we'll sit down and discuss, at what point do we say, okay, we're gonna have either a teacher professional development day and bring the staff in, or we're gonna bring the students and staff. I certainly
ever
don't
be-
like that idea.
Would it ever be an option just to extend the day an hour instead of like bringing them in a whole nother day?
That-
You know, because
that's-
it
Doesn't have to be an
2 hour
instructional
dismissals,
day.
you know, so
It has to
could
be
you?
instructional pay. If we get to a point where we're beyond the
That's kind
the
of
hours, again, ODE gives you a wide range of where you can be.
I agree with that.
I don't know, I think some school districts right now are beyond already. And again, as long as you're under your hours and not the calamity days.
Minimum, because there's been a lot of closing
Yeah. So we'll look at that. And right now, talking to the surrounding districts, the 6 group around us that we've talked all the time, we're looking at 7 days out, maybe we start thinking about scheduling an additional day in June.
And we're 5 now.
We're 5 now. We'll toss that around and sit down with the committee and work that out. A couple things I gave you. The student wellness program, which we did last year. You might be getting some questions. We did this in June, we revised this. But in this program, we are looking at sitting down with a group. Again, we do have a wellness committee. We're going to sit down with that group and bring some additional parents into the group, talk about the wellness program that we have for our staff and students.
Requirements, or haven't used it now? Because wasn't Obama that had put stringent guidelines? I mean,
Yes.
that's eased up,
He
right?
did put extreme guidelines. Some of those guidelines have eased off now, and Stacy can now sell certain other items in the cafeteria, which allows us to, some of the things we weren't allowed to sell with kids, things kids like, obviously, but we're slowly getting back to some of that. One of the things we've done in our kitchen is Stacy now has a book with all of the actual ingredients of everything we bring in. So if the parent wants to look at that and see what the ingredients are, she has that. And Debbie's been working a lot with the kitchen staff with that. We also have gone to prepackaged already peanut butter, the little packages of peanut butter, packages of sour creams, things of that nature. It's costing us a lot more, to be honest with you. The prepackaged peanut butter and jelly sandwiches are costing us more than us just doing it. Part of that goes along with the food allergy policy, where we have to try and do the best possible thing to minimize the risk to students who have allergies. Yeah, and it's become a big issue all over the place. And we currently have 14 students with allergies in elementary alone, ranging from life-threatening to rashes and things of that nature. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to get it where we can make everybody happy, and we know that's not going to happen. So when we met last week, Debbie and I with Kathy Shook, we talked about some of the things that we're looking at. We decided to look at all the other districts around us, and a lot of them have gone to the non-edible treats for their parties. So you might be getting some complaints from some parents about non-edible treats. Debbie did the one call last week, let them know that, hey, we're still going to do treats. And what happened was we did that at the last party,
The last party,
and we did PTO doing the
yeah.
ingredient, and we got peanuts in the bags somehow, peanut products in some of the bags that went home that parents brought in. So we're trying to eliminate that possibility. And you'll probably hear some grumblings. But we're talking 3 parties a year, and if you want to put whatever you want to put in the bag, just ask me on that. You know, and it's you just have to keep in mind what our policy is, and that's what I gave you, in case you get calls, you can say, hey, here's the policy. And it's to minimize the risk. And we are doing school-wide programs. Nora's done a program with Akron Children's on
Already
allergies
done
and
that,
food products with staff and students. So we're trying to do as much educating as we can, you know, from that standpoint. As far as anything else, it's been pretty
Don't
quiet.
say that.
You should have said it.
Don't say that.
Yeah, I'll go.
Yeah.
We did have, today we gave the ASVAB test to our juniors, and that's to set up a different career pathway for the kids that they can choose. And we'll be doing the ACT next week for all the juniors. It's the military. If they score at a certain place, they'll be able to move into a different career pathway. It counts towards that graduation requirement. Right now, it looks like the class of 19 will be under the same standards as the class of 18. So they're going to look at 19 and 20 to get the kids through, and then beyond that, who knows what's going to happen. It could change. We don't know. But next week, we'll give the ACT to all our juniors.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
What you
That
guys
is so
do.
nice that we do it right here.
That is.
Yeah, so Old Junior will take that next week. We're bringing the kids back from the Career Center to do that
I like that.
here.
Yeah, I'm glad you included them. That makes a
Yeah.
big.
The Career Center does not want to do that again like they did last year, so.
And it might make some kids who think they're not even college potential, maybe get a second.
Might surprise you. Yeah, might, exactly. Maybe surprise you.
That's good.
That's all I have.
Anything else? We have a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Mr. Blevins?
Mr. Blevins?
Tracy,
Mr. Hall?
Yes.
Mrs. Potts? Yes. Mrs. Powell?
Yes.
Mr. Simmons?